Hello everybody, my name's Morgan, also known as Big Time, and I'm here to bring you another Valorant weekly news roundup. Let's get straight into it, and the first thing we want to look at is the roster mania. Now there are a ton of roster rumours to look at. I'm going to try and cover some of the biggest ones for you, but the first one we're looking at today is DOMA leaving FNATIC. Now this is definitely one of the most interesting roster rumours, because going into Champions, nobody really expected a lot from FNATIC. They played pretty bad at Red Bull, and in previous months before that, a lot of people thought they'd only qualified based on a good result in Reykjavik, so nobody had a lot of hope for them. Needless to say, they massively outperformed everybody's expectations. They got out of the group of death, made it to the quarterfinal, and only lost to a very strong looking crew. So where does this leave DOMA? For me, he's still a very talented player with a long future ahead of him. He has very good stats and he's incredibly versatile in that flex position. This is something that a lot of teams really want. FNATIC also announced this week that they're parting ways with their strategic coach Anders. Now he's received a lot of credit for their Champions run, he was no doubt a big part in that. Now regardless of whether he stays in EU or goes back to NA, one thing's for certain, and that's FNATIC have a lot of holes in their roster right now. They're going to need a really strong off-season to continue their form from the end of this year. Next we have a huge international move, which is PYTH moving to the SEA organisation Bleed Esports. Now this is certainly a very interesting roster move. Whenever a player changes regions like this, it's always going to be a big deal. They're also picking up fellow Swedish player Maxi to come along with him. Together they have an insane amount of TAC FPS experience, and most notably, PYTH was with the dominant G2 roster from around the start of the game. The SEA region has proved themselves to not be pushovers though, with X10 and Secret making really strong runs at Champions. By signing the Swedish pair, Bleed Esports are now looking to really challenge those top dogs of the region and potentially snag that champion spot for themselves. Next, staying with the SEA region, we have PATIPHAN moving back to Overwatch. Now this one shouldn't come as too big of a surprise. PATIPHAN was a star Overwatch player from a very young age who played in contenders, but you have to be 18 to play in the Overwatch League. Last year when the coronavirus pandemic hit, Overwatch slowed down a little bit, so it made a lot of sense for him to try his skills in a new game. Honestly, it's no surprise that he was great at Valorant too. He had some fantastic moments both on and off the server and has managed to use this year to grow his own brand, really show off that fantastic personality that he has, and we wish him all the best back in Overwatch. I do feel like it's worth mentioning that I think this is a relatively isolated incident. He's simply gone back to the game he loved, and we're going to probably see the same thing with Nitro in the next few months. For people switching to Valorant from a different esport, there's always a chance they might leave, but I don't think that this hints at any problems with Valorant esports' future. Honestly, I don't feel like it will be very long before Valorant has its own people like PATIPHAN. There's lots of young kids looking for FPS games to play, and Valorant really fills that hole. We're going to see new generations starting to play the game, and that will really build a future. It won't be too long before all these old guard CSGO players are eventually forced out for new kids who have only ever played Valorant, but this is a story for a different video. And we've saved the best till last in these roster rumours, and that's apparently that CNED is exploring his options. Now a story like this will always cause a stir. CNED is arguably one of the best players in the world and he proved it yet again at Champions. So apparently he is yet to re-sign his contract with ACEND. Now I don't want to speculate too much because this could mean all kinds of different things. Now I would definitely assume that ACEND want to keep CNED, and CNED probably wants to stay with ACEND. He probably likes the people around him who don't have success like they've had without great chemistry. So with that being said, why might he be exploring his options? Well, for me the most likely scenario is that he's probably just getting cash offers from other teams to take back to ACEND to show how much he's worth. Equally though, I don't want to say that there's no potency to these rumours. Without a doubt, NA can offer him a lot more money. RIOTS support the NA Valorant scene a lot more than they support the EMEA scene. When a team like 100 Thieves could offer him a $20,000 a month salary plus an apartment and somewhere to live, there's no doubt he has to take it into consideration. Ultimately though, I'd like to say that this rumour doesn't really have a lot of legs. I would think that ACEND would receive a huge amount of sponsorship after their tournament win, and they could use a lot of this money to pay CNED. I don't see why he would be in a hurry to uproot his whole life when he's having success where he is. Moving away from roster news now, the next thing I want to talk about are the Valorant regional leagues. So, if you don't know, Riot announced their plans for EMEA next season. This involves splitting up the region into several different leagues. There'll be a top league full of tier 1 teams ready to compete in Champions, and then there'll also be tier 2 regional leagues. Now I think on paper these are a fantastic idea. I love that Riot want to get more involved within their tier 2 scene and support upcoming talent. You shouldn't just take my word for it though, there are a lot of people supporting these leagues. Whenever you can clearly outline the path to pro for younger and tier 2 players, it's only good for the longevity of your esport. But like everything, these are not without their own drama and rumours, so let's get into those right now. Let's start first with the Spanish drama. With the continent split up into different regional leagues, each region was given a separate tournament organiser, and the region for Spain, Portugal and Italy was given LVP. Now LVP are quite a popular tournament organiser, they've had a lot of success with RIOTS in the past, but they are pretty much exclusively Spanish. When deciding the league structure, LVP decided that they wanted to invite the top teams from their region. Now this makes a lot of sense because you can ensure good quality competition. The problem however occurred when they invited only Spanish teams. The company sent out 9 invites, leaving 1 spot left for an open qualifier where an Italian or Portuguese team could potentially qualify. Then to make matters even worse, they said if an Italian or Portuguese team did qualify through the open qualifier, that they would have to sign under a Spanish org to play the league. I feel like it goes without saying why this is bad, and understandably the Portuguese and Italian communities are in absolute uproar. They feel like they are entitled to a fair shot at a VRL alongside everybody else, and I couldn't agree more. I really hope Riot step in and fix this situation so that we get accurate representation across all of these leagues. Next, we'll move on to look at the more recent DACH drama. So when Riot announced these VRLs, they said that the majority of the team had to be from the playing region. This was then reduced to 2 players per team, just to give players a little bit more options. But now the DACH League have took that a step further. They now say that only 1 active player and up to 1 substitute have to be from the DACH region. What this means is, say you have 1 German substitute, then you only actually need 1 DACH regional player in your team in order to compete in that league. Now this is a little bit of a slap in the face for the players in that region, as it actively promotes looking outside to bring in talent and you just stick somebody from the region on your substitute bench. The DACH region are understandably annoyed by this, and I gotta say I agree. If this was brought into place in the UK and Nordics League, where I will be most likely taking an interest, I think I feel exactly the same. The VRLs are supposed to be about promoting internal talent and highlighting the skills of the region as a whole. If all you're doing is creating loopholes for teams to bring in players from elsewhere, then they're really not doing their job. I'd like to see Riot step in here, revert the rule back to 2 players and make it clear what the VRLs are really about. And the final topic to cover for this week is the activated esports payment dispute. So for those of you who don't know, Activated Esports were a pretty solid European team, considered one of the top teams in Bulgaria. So their controller player Zek took to Twitter with this message. Hi everyone, as Activated Esport breached our contract and did not pay us salaries for 2 months, we will be terminating our contract and we will be playing in the final of Valorant PLE Nations League under the tag of Sunny Beach. More information soon, DM for an esports lawyer. Now unfortunately, this isn't actually that uncommon. We see it time and time again with small orgs and tier 2 players, where the orgs just kind of scam the players out of their money essentially. Now what's very interesting about this is that typically when this happens, the orgs just tend to disappear or they'll distance themselves from this issue as much as they can. Activity Esports went the exact opposite way. The org themselves responded with, cool, DM2 if you want to know why, all the best for the future. Now obviously there's a lesson in this somewhere. If you're an organisation, absolutely don't respond like this when there is an issue. Like, we have no idea who's technically at fault here and they might have a good reason for not paying their players, but right now I'm definitely not on their side and I don't think anybody else is either. Hopefully more stuff will come out of this week and we'll really see who's in the wrong, but I've got like a 90% chance it's on the org. Ultimately we need to support players like this because it's far too common. I think there needs to be more checks, more auditing, more lawyers involved in esports negotiations so that esports as a whole can grow in a safe and healthy way. That's all for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and if you haven't already, please do go check out our website, AbsoluteLegends.gg. We've got news, guides, stats, matches, anything you might need in the world of competitive Valorant. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.